Hello everybody, my name is Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a ridiculously large book haul from my isolation, quarantine, zero self-control. I do also want to take a minute to say that I am going to be leaving a bunch of resources down below in my description box on ways that you can help the Black Lives Matter and Black Trans Lives Matter movements, especially during Pride, during this month, and in light of the senseless murders of innocent Black people going on in not only just the United States, but all around the world. I've got lists for petitions, donations, and other ways that you can help down below, so please go take a look at that. So this book haul is a long time coming. I haven't done one since December of 2019, I think, and that was my first one for a while as well. I went a long time without buying some books, and then these have just started accumulating. I've got over 20 books here, so I'm going to be brief in my descriptions, but hopefully you see some books that you like. If you see some books that you have read before, let me know, and let me know if you enjoyed them or not. I'm really excited. I haven't started reading any of these yet. I've still been making my way through other books on my TBR, but I'm very excited about these, so let's just get going. So the first set of books that I actually bought on Book Depository. I made an order back in like the end of March and they just finally finished coming in. The first book that I picked up was The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This I got on recommendation from Jean over at Jean's Thoughts. This is a retelling of the Iliad, but from Briseis, I think that's how you say her name. Another captured queen that spends her time in the Greek camp as a promised woman to Achilles, the man who murdered her family. So I'm really interested to see this. I've read a few different retellings of the Iliad and the Odyssey over the years, but this one just stood out to me and I'm really excited to read it. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Also, the cover's gorgeous. I bought it on Book Depository because I wanted this UK cover because it's so pretty. But anyway, I'm going to be getting to this quite soon and I'm really excited about it. Next up, I picked up a series actually. I also have the third one pre-ordered in paperback, waiting for that to be released and to show up on my doorstep. I'm very excited to have them all match. But this is the Nevernight Trilogy by Jay Kristoff. This is an adult high fantasy series. I don't really honestly know a whole lot about it. I know that it's got a badass female main character named Mia, and she likes knives. That's about as much as I'm aware of. But I'm excited to go into this kind of blind. I've heard many things about this series and from people that I really trust their opinion on and people who have similar reading tastes as mine, so I'm excited to get into a new adult fantasy series. I don't believe it's high fantasy. I also really like Jay Kristoff's writing in Illuminae and Aurora Rising, so I'm excited to see what he can do on his own. Next up is another completed series that I also bought, again because I wanted the UK covers, but also they were super cheap on Book Depository. I actually picked up the entirety of the Assassin's Apprentice series, the Farseer Trilogy, that's what it's called, by Robin Hobb. This is a high fantasy series following Fitz, who is the bastard child of the crown prince of this world, who is raised separate from the castle as a disgrace, but raised as an assassin to do the crown's bidding. And Fitz learns that eventually he is going to be destined to save the kingdom as it's on a brink of civil war. I'm really excited to read this. Also, I've heard many good things about it. I've heard that Robin Hobb is a fantastic high fantasy writer. I love finding more books in adult high fantasy written by women, so I'm really excited to get into this series. I think it's going to be a really great time. I know that there's been a read-along going on for this series with Ashley at Frolic Through Fiction. I'll try and find more information about that and link it below if they're still doing it by the time this video is posted. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm really excited to be reading this. I think I'm going to be reading it in the next couple of weeks. So now I'm going to get into more of my fantasy reads that I've picked up, and then I have another off the cuff, not very Emma's Bookshelves bit of a haul, because I've been picking up some books that are not in my genre and I'm excited to share them with you. But first of all, these are the rest of the fantasy books that I've picked up. One of the next books that I picked up was Bonkers Moon by Catherine Purdy. This is a high fantasy again. This tells the story of three characters, I believe. There's Bastien, Ellis, and Sabine. I don't know if I'm saying any of those right, but basically it tells the story of bone criers, who are these group of women with magical powers that they are tasked with the abilities to keep the dead from walking along with the living and attacking the living. But in order to gain their full power, they are destined to kill their true love, so it's like a very star-crossed lover type series. The two girls, Alice and Sabine, are bone criers, or soon to be bone criers. Alice is ready to become the monarch of the bone criers, but she has to go through her rite of passage and kill the boy that she loves. Sabine's never been one to fully stomach the idea of being a bone crier, but she's like sticking around to take care of her best friend. And then Bastien's father was actually killed by a bone crier in his youth, so he's been hellbent on revenge ever since. The three cross paths and chaos ensues, I imagine. I've heard a lot of really good things about this. The cover art is gorgeous again as well. But it sounds like a really dark and twisted kind of magic system, which I think is really interesting. And I love a little bit of forbidden romance, and I'm imagining that's coming in this quite soon. So again, I'm very excited to be reading this. Next up, I picked up a book that has been on my radar for a while now, actually ever since it came out, and that is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This is a story set in the 1800s in New Orleans, and it follows vampires, which is very exciting. It kind of, from what I believe, it is a story about vampires, and it also is a story, like a murder mystery kind of story, which I think is really interesting. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I've also heard a lot of kind of polarizing things about it, but regardless, I think I'm really excited. I love vampires. I always have loved vampires ever since my Twilight days. And I'm excited to see another new vampire book because I haven't seen many lately, so I'm pumped to give this a read. Next up, I picked up Thorn by Intisar Kanani. And this is another high fantasy following Princess Illyra. She hates her royal life, she hates her cruel family, and she's always been longing for escape. Unfortunately, she becomes betrothed to a neighboring kingdom's crown prince, Kestrin, and is forced to journey to his world in order to take part in this marriage. Along the way, she's actually attacked by a sorceress who strips her of her identity and her role as princess, and Illyra is given the exact opportunity that she always wanted, a way to escape her destiny as a princess. But as soon as she arrives at Kestrin's court, she realizes the danger that he is in and the unfair lives that his people have been living in, and realizes that she can't really stay anonymous forever, and decides to do something to help. I'm actually really excited about this. It's a retelling of the Goose Girl fairy tale, which I haven't personally read, but I've heard that it's a really good one. I've heard a lot of talk about different Goose Girl retellings, specifically the one by Shannon Hale. But regardless, I'm really excited about this. I'm excited for about high fantasy retelling of a fairy tale. Those are my jams, so I absolutely can't wait to read this. Next up, I picked up Furyborne by Claire Legrand. This book came out a while ago. I think the sequel is out again already as well. I think there's going to be a third one. This tells the story of two queens set 1,000 years apart. The first queen, Riel, uncovers a prophecy of two fated queens, and in order to prove that she is one of the queens, the Sun Queen, she must go through 7 deadly trials. And if she manages to survive all of the trials, then she can be declared queen. 1,000 years later, it also follows Eliana, who's a bounty hunter for the new Undying Empire. And the two of them become connected over the span of these thousands of years, and they have to work together to solve this mystery. It's a dual perspective. I've heard it's very intricate. The world building is insane. And I don't know, I've heard a lot of things about it, but I also don't know really anything about what it's about. I don't know the plotline at all, so again, going into it kind of blind, but I'm very excited about this. Next up is one of my most anticipated books that I've been looking forward to for a while now. It is a high fantasy start to a new series, and it is A Song of Wraiths in Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This I'm so excited about. It just came in the mail a couple days ago, and I am pumped. This is a new first book in, I think, a trilogy? No, duology, that is high fantasy and inspired by West African folklore. It tells the story of Malik and Karina. Malik is on the run from his war-stricken home and enters into a contest in the prosperous city of Zirin in order to start a new life in his with his sisters. However, once they get there, one of his sisters, Nadia, is kidnapped by a vengeful spirit, and Malik has to make a deal in order to secure her freedom. The deal is that he has to now kill the crown princess, Karina. Karina's mother has just been assassinated, and her court is threatening mutiny, so Karina decides in her grief to try and resurrect her mother. In order to do that, she has to kill and use the heart of a king. So she makes the deal to actually marry the winner of the competition that Malik has entered. The two of them are on a deadly path to try and kill each other, and obviously sparks are going to fly, and I am very excited to see this. I love a good star-crossed lover, forbidden love type story, and I love the high fantasy. I love the idea of necromancy and spirits and this type of magic. I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm so excited to read it. Next up is a book that I've heard a lot about, but I didn't particularly like the last book I read by this author, so I'm excited to see how this is going to go. According to Kayla, hi Kayla, over at Kayla Does, I'll link her channel down below. She thinks I'm going to love this. She absolutely adores this book, so I'm excited to give it a go based on her recommendation. But that book is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This book, I don't really know anything about it at all. I know that there are portals to new worlds that people can walk between. I know it's queer. I know it's really whimsical, kind of like The Night Circus, which is the other book by Erin Morgenstern that I didn't particularly love. But I've also heard that if you didn't like The Night Circus, you might like The Starless Sea, so I'm willing to give it another shot. I've heard a lot of fantastic things about this book, so I'm very excited to give it a go. The next book is, I think, the most recent book that I've collected in this series, or in this latest haul, and I'm very excited about it. The pitch that I read was just instantaneous. I needed to have it kind of thing, and that is The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. This was pitched to me as a Six of Crows meets Les Mis, which I think is really interesting. I'm always wary of things that are compared to Six of Crows because I've seen that any type of group of non-heroes or anti-heroes being pushed together and forced to complete a task as being compared to Six of Crows, which is not an accurate depiction in my or comparison in my point of view, but I did love Six of Crows, so I'm always willing to give it a shot, but the Les Mis part really got me. This is set in a alternate history kind of setting. It's set in Paris in 1829, and it follows Nina, who is a member of the, what's it called? Thieves Guild. Basically, the royal family is hiding in their palace in the height of the revolution, and in doing so, the rest of the world has kind of become governed by this group called the Wretched, which is a gang of criminals that have separated into 9 guilds. Nina is part of the Thieves Guild, but one of the guild lords, just known as the Tiger, has set sights on Nina's sister Cassette, and will stop at nothing to have her. So Nina has to work with a bunch of other misfits in order to try and save her sister. I'm so excited about this. I love the idea of an underground network of guilds. I think that's really interesting. One of the guilds that kind of governs the Wretched and all the rest of the guilds is known as the Miracle Court, and it just makes me think of the Court of Miracles, like the title from Hunchback of Notre Dame. So it's just got so many references that I'm very excited about, and I can't wait to read this. I think it's going to be a really interesting way of retelling both the stories, or taking elements from both the stories and putting them together. I am so pumped to read this. It's not even funny. The next and last fantasy book that I've picked up recently is Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. This is a story inspired by actually Bolivian politics and history, which is really interesting, and it's also got some magical elements in it. This tells the story of Ximena, who is a decoy condessa, sent in her actual queen's stead to marry the usurper Atok, who has used deadly relic type magic and spiritual magic to take over her kingdom. When he demands the hand of the Condessa in marriage, Ximena has to go in her stead, and in doing so relishes at the opportunity to try and steal the relic he used to take over the kingdom and usurp the usurper. She's met along the way with a cast of characters that are there to try and stop her, and she has to use her own magical powers, which is to weave moonlight, which I think is really interesting, in order to decide whether or not she's going to take revenge or do something to actually stop this entire regime. I'm so pumped about this. I saw this on many different TBRs, but one of my favorite YouTubers, Coley, has recommended this on her Instagram, so I'm very excited to actually read it. I love the idea of going into a different type of history and background with Bolivian history and politics, which I've never read anything about, and I'm excited to see where this is going to go, especially with the really whimsical style of magic. So I'm, again, very excited to read this. Okay, so next up are some actual different type books for me. I don't typically read these genres, but I'm just excited to like give them a go this summer. The first, I actually picked up a couple of YA contemporaries, which I'm not used to, but I really wanted to try and support these authors, and these books just sound so amazing. And then I picked up a lot of adult romance, which I'm very excited to read as well. I don't read romance, I don't read contemporary really at all ever, so I'm trying to broaden my horizons in this year of 2020 and get some new types of reading and recommendations going, so let's get into those. This next book is the most recent book by this author. I recently read her two other books, The Poet X and With the Fire on High, but it is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is another book written in verse, which The Poet X was as well, which is one of Elizabeth Acevedo's signatures. She is known as for being a very successful slam poet, and so her poetry weaves its way into her novels as well. This is a YA hard-hitting contemporary that tells the story of two sisters who, after the death of their father in a plane crash, are revealed to be like secret sisters. Their father kept each other separate from them across the ocean. One lives in New York City, the other lives in the Dominican Republic. And it tells the story of them working through their own grief and their own confusion and learning what it means to follow their dreams with each other and with the sister and with the secrets of their family. And I've heard it's very devastating and very emotional, but I'm so excited to read it. Elizabeth Acevedo's writing, I've learned in the last couple of weeks, is just incredibly beautiful. I first read With the Fire on High, which I bought back in December, and absolutely adored it. It was fantastic. I loved it because it was so wholesome and like a happy story, which made me happy. But it told the story of Imani, who is a teen mother who loves to cook. It was great. And then I recently listened to The Poet X, and it just devastated me. It was so incredible. It was also written in verse, and it's just a beautiful story. I'm going to try and find the audiobook and read along with this and listen to it, because Elizabeth Acevedo actually narrates her own audiobooks, and it's just an incredible experience. I highly recommend it to anybody looking into reading her books, is to listen to the audio. I'm so excited for this. This is going to kill me, but I'm very excited to read it because I love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing now. But yeah, anyway, I'm pumped for this. Next up, the other YA contemporary that I picked up recently was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is a brand new YA contemporary that I've been looking forward to for quite a while. This tells the story of Liz, who is a highly ambitious black teenager who's living in a very white-dominated town in the Midwest. But she has a plan to get herself out of this tiny little town, and that is to attend the prestigious Pennington College. Pennington College. Play in the orchestra and become a doctor. Wonderful dream. But she finds out that her financial aid has actually fallen through, learns that her high school is giving away a scholarship and financial help to the winners of Prom King and Queen. So Liz decides to try and run for prom queen. But along the way she meets Mac, who is another girl who is running for prom queen, and Liz and Mac really hit it off and really become great friends, and Liz starts to fall for Mac, but she has the issue of will falling for the competition stop her from actually trying to win and achieving her own dreams. I'm so excited for this. I don't read much YA contemporary, but I know that this is a very important book. Deals with female-female romance, especially in high school, which is not usually written about, I've noticed. And I'm just so excited. Liz sounds so cute. Like, she just wants to play her music and be a doctor, and it's just so great. And she has to try and become prom queen, even though she feels like an outcast. And I'm so excited to read this. It's gonna be one of the next books that I read in June. And again, I'm so excited. I can't wait. So next up are some of the adult romances that I've picked up. I don't know a whole lot about their plots, so I'm going to be leaving links to all the books that are in this haul in the description down below, so you guys can go and read up on them as well. And I don't know anything about if these are good because I've never really read adult romance before, so I'm going off of what I've heard, and I'm just hoping and praying, really. But the first book that I picked up was The Kissing Game by Mary Hart. This tells the story of Rena, who's a diehard romantic and working as a waitress at a dive bar while she saves up to open up her own hair salon. She's been crushing on, what's his name? Axel, who is a tall, brooding, what did she say? Tall, brooding, and handsome thing going on. But he's entirely unromantic, and despite crushing on Rena himself, he has no way of expressing it, and trying to work out their own issues while attempting to court the other, I think. I don't know. I'm guessing here, but either way, I'm excited. It sounds cute, and I need some cute fluffy stuff in my life right now. Next up is one of the most famous romances that I've read or heard about in the last year, I'd say, and that is the Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams. This tells the story of a baseball player for the Nashville Legends, Gavin Scott, whose marriage is falling apart. His wife asks for a divorce, and Nathan has to swallow his pride and learn how to save his marriage. In doing so, he joins what is known as the Romance Book Club, which is a group of Nashville's top alpha men who read romance novels in order to try and understand their wives. So I find it hilarious. Nathan is joining this club and reading their, I think it's a Regency novel? Yeah, Courting the Countess. And all the rest of the guys try and help Gavin learn a little bit more about his wife and save his own marriage. I don't know, I think it sounds really cute. I've heard it's really funny. I've heard it's a really good read and really good fun, so I'm very excited to give it a go. Next up is another really famous book that just came out, I think in May, but it's been getting rave reviews. I've heard nothing bad about it so far, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This tells the story of Augustus Everett and January Andrews. Augustus is a literary fiction novel that kills all his characters off and is really prestigious and pretentious, and January writes romance novels. The two of them are complete opposites, but find themselves both renting neighboring beach houses for the summer, both stuck with writer's block. The two of them meet and strike a deal to try and get themselves out of their ruts by having them teach the other person about their own style of writing. So for example, January is going to try and write the next literary novel of the decade, while Augustus is going to try and write a romance. I've heard this book is funny and cute, but I've also heard it's kind of devastating and deals with a lot of really tough topics like grief and loss and stuff like that. So I know it's going to be a harder read, but I'm very excited to get into it. I think it's going to be adorable. I love the idea of two writers who are so opposite and write such different things, challenging themselves and attempting to write something completely out of their genre. That's something I have been trying to do mostly in my reading. This is why I'm trying to branch out on my reading to try and see if it will help improve my writing and make my writing a little bit easier. Not easier, but a little bit better. I know that reading a variety of genres will always help, so I'm interested to see how this is going to work for the two of them. I think it's going to be hilarious, and I'm so excited to read it. On a beach, hopefully, but who knows when that's going to be a safe thing to do. I can hope. Next up is another book that I've heard amazing things about, and the author has another book coming out soon that I've pre-ordered that I'm pumped about as well. But this book is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This tells the story of Chloe Brown, who is a chronically ill geek nerd, or computer geek. And after a near-death experience, Chloe creates this list of things that she's determined to do to bring herself out of her comfort zone. However, by creating this list, Chloe realizes that it's not really something bad that she's doing. It's quite planned out and structured. So she enlists the help of her neighbor, I believe, Redford Red Morgan, who is a handyman with tattoos, motorcycles, and hidden art projects, which is adorable. But the two of them get very close, and after she enlists him to help her complete her list of things that she's desperate to do, the two of them get close and learn more things about each other than they expected. Again, I'm excited about this. I love the idea of a good girl having this bad list of things she wants to do, things like riding a motorcycle or just getting drunk on a night out, traveling the world with just some hand luggage, things like that. I think it's adorable. I think it's a really interesting concept. And again, I'm excited to read it. Next up is The Worst Best Man by Mia Souza. This tells the story of Carolina Santos, who was a wedding planner that was left at the altar, and she understands the irony that comes from that. But she's tried to move on with her life, and she is given the opportunity to complete this massive project that would be huge for her career, a massive opportunity, but she finds out that she has to collaborate with, what's his name? Max Hartley, who is the best man and brother of the man who left her at the altar. And apparently he had something to do with that. The two of them hate each other, mostly Carolina hating Max, but if they can manage to work together, they can both achieve very huge opportunities. As always, sparks fly and conflict ensues, so again, I'm excited for this one. Love a good enemies to lovers romance in fantasy, so hopefully it'll translate to adult romance. I'm again pumped for this. Next up, I actually ordered 2 other books by this author that are like the first 2 books in like the companion series, I should say. All of her books, or a good portion of her books, follow characters that are all in the same world, that are all like friends with each other in the books previous. The first book by this author is The Wedding Date, but I accidentally ordered mass market paperbacks, so I want to take them back and get the actual floppy paperbacks that I prefer reading from. Anyway, the series is The Wedding Date, but this is the 3rd book in the series, which is The Wedding Party. I have the actual 4th book in the series as well, which is called Royal Holiday. You can read them in out of order, but they're all kind of like bridging off of each other, so I want to try and read them in order. So I won't be reading this one right away, and I'm not quite sure what it's about, but I'm excited. I've heard nothing but good things about Jasmine Guillory's writing, so I started reading Royal Holiday, but I didn't finish it, so I did enjoy it. So I'm excited to see more about what she has to offer. This one follows Maddie and Theo, who are best friends to Alexa, who is, I guess, a character from the series, the book before, who's getting married. And these 2 hate each other, but they both are part of the bridal party, so they have to work together. Yeah, I'm excited to read it. So the last 2 books are actually books that I bought at the beginning of this spree, but for whatever reason ended up last in this haul. But they are 2 books by Mary McFarlane. The first is If I Never Met You, and the second is Don't You Forget About Me. This tells the story of Georgina, who has had like the worst time ever, being fired from her job and finding out that her boyfriend was cheating on her with her best friend. When she runs into her new boss Lucas and realizes that he is someone who in their youth wrote her a note saying, "I love your laugh," 12 years previous, wonders if sparks could fly. But problem is, Lucas doesn't seem to remember Georgina at all, so there's that. I don't know, I've heard this is really good. I love the idea of somebody like starting her life over and meeting somebody from her past. I love the idea of second chance romance, so I'm excited for this one. If I Never Met You is a kind of similar story, but not really. It tells the story of Lori, who has just been left by her husband, who they also work together in their law office. Yeah, law firm, or who she has to see every single day, despite their awkward past. And when she finds out that his new girlfriend is pregnant, Lori decides that she can't stand the humiliation of walking around her office like this, so she enlists the help of the office playboy, what's his name, Jamie, to pretend to be her boyfriend. It's fake dating. I love fake dating. I think it's going to be such an interesting story. Jamie is on the hunt for looking for a kind of respectable girlfriend to impress his bosses, and so when Lori comes to him with her proposal, he's quick to jump on it. Obviously, fake dating, going to turn into real dating, going to turn into real love, and I'm excited for it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. That was my, I don't know, mid-year book haul. I think it's almost 25 books here, and I can't believe it. I've bought that many books in the last little while, but it's what isolation does to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have seen any books on this haul that you have read or that you're interested in, please let me know down in the comments below if you enjoyed it or what your thoughts were on it, if you think I'm gonna like it, etc, etc. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really does help support my channel, and if you're new here, please subscribe. I put out new bookish videos every week, kind of regularly. I'm gonna be trying to put out new videos every week. If you guys are into writing, I'm actually going to be attempting to do Camp NaNoWriMo next month, which is very exciting, so stay tuned for some writing vlogs that are going to be coming, some reading vlogs that are going to be coming, and hopefully a bunch more wonderful bookish videos. Hopefully I'll be able to read some of these and give you guys my actual thoughts. But anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will see you with the next one. Bye bye.